Hey everybody! So welcome back to Food Personality Small Group for Believers Church. We're so excited that you guys joined us today again. I hope you all enjoyed last week's video on the keto calzones. We love them. I hope you all enjoyed them. If not, give them a try at least just once, just to make sure that it's your style. So tonight we're going to be doing something really fun. We're going to be doing chorizo stuffed acorn squash. So we love acorn squash. We actually just started using it last year in the fall. It's a really good fall recipe. We've done them with Italian sausage a few times, with some yummy Italian cheeses like Parmesan and Asiago in there, and with some fresh kale, and you bake them and they were super delicious. But tonight we're going to do a special recipe kind of on our take of one of our favorites from the Mexican restaurant here in LaGrange. It's a chorizo and onion sauteed with cojita cheese on top, which I'm super excited about this cojita cheese. So we're going to be doing this. I've got the traditional chorizo, pork chorizo here, and then the nutrition facts on it are 190 calories per serving of 2.5 ounces, 9 grams of protein. But I'll also have a super healthy alternative, and that is the boar's head chicken chorizo. And this is only 150 calories for one link and 16 grams of protein, only 9 grams of fat. The traditional is 18 grams of fat compared to 9, so half, and then only 9 grams of protein versus 16. So these healthier version gives you more protein, less fat, less cholesterol, less calories. But we're going to do them both ways. That way I make sure I have enough for one to fill all of our acorn squash, and so that we can just see the difference of everything going on there. So I've also got a couple of yellow onions we're going to chop up here. And then I'm going to introduce you guys to acorn squash. If you've never used it before, this is what they look like. Sometimes they got a little orange on the sides or streaked in them. And then this is what it looks like on the inside once you've gotten all the seeds out. So I've already done 2 of these. So obviously each one of these is going to give you 2 portions because you're going to have them. I'm obviously probably only going to eat 1. My daughter would only eat 1. Usually my husband only eats 1, but occasionally if they're super hungry, they can have a second one. But either way, you've got a great already portioned out control there. So if you're working on portion control, having this half little cup here to keep you going, that works. So, like I said, I've already cut 2 of these up, so I'm going to lower down my video so I can kind of show you how that works. So let me just lower this down real quick. All right, so here is my cutting board. You can see I've got my 4 acorn squash, so I'm going to go ahead and put them on my cooking sheet here, these 4, and then we're going to just cut this one up here. So you just kind of find where one of the little ribbons are, because that makes it the easiest to cut, because you definitely don't want to cut your finger. And then you're just going to kind of cut in between there just like you would a cantaloupe or any other squash. You use a little bit of power and cut through there, wiggle a little bit if you have to, and there you go, and then you're cut open. So on the inside of the acorn squash is just like any other squash or a cantaloupe or anything like that. You've got all the seeds and the stuff in there. So we're going to seed that out real quick. So I just have a spoon. I'm just going to take this and just seed out the center. Dump that in my trash bowl here. And then put those here. And then we are going to put some olive oil, garlic, salt, and pepper on these, and then throw them in the oven at 425 degrees to roast them. That'll get all that insides nice and soft so that it's ready, yummy to eat. And then once they're soft and ready, then we would move on to do the, put the filling inside. So I'm just going to put them on top here so you can see a little bit closer what I'm doing. And I'm just going to take some of our olive oil that we have here, and we're going to just sprinkle that on the inside of each one. Maybe a little bit, if that's okay. Then if you do little cups, like you kind of overdid it like I did, that's okay. We'll just go ahead and split it on over through the rest of them here. And then we're just going to get our hands dirty. I still have to talk to myself about getting my hands dirty. I'm like, it's no big deal. You could just use soap and water. It's okay to get dirty. And as some of the other cooks on Food Network say, these are the best 2 utensils God ever gave us for cooking. So I'm just gonna take it to heart. We're gonna put some olive oil in all of these. And yes, I did wash my hands before I started this video. So I am all clean. Promise, would not feed my family dirty germs. So I've got that going on there. All right, and then we'll just sprinkle with salt and pepper. I am gonna wash my hands real quick before I do that, just so I don't get the salt and pepper all over my other stuff. So I will be right back. All right, everybody, I'm back. Hands are clean, no more oil. So we're gonna go ahead and do salt, pepper, and garlic, and then throw these in the oven real quick so they can go ahead and get to roasting. So we love to use the coarse kosher salt. It's kind of got this grainy sand look, but it just really adds, you can kind of see here, it's super coarse and bigger flakes than just your regular salt. So we like to use this because it just gives it a better punch. And especially with something like a squash, I mean, you know, they're squash, so they need a little bit of flavor. You definitely want to accentuate what they already have, but you don't want it to be bland either, because nobody wants bland food. If you're going to do something healthy, you still want it to be yummy and tasty. So that's what we prefer to use. If you don't have it and you don't want to invest in a box of kosher salt, that's totally okay. Just be generous with the salt on these. We're going to be putting that meat in there. Next, I'm just gonna sprinkle with some garlic powder here. Just a sprinkling of it, like a dusting of snow. And then we have fresh ground pepper. We have a little grinder thing that we've had for years. And so we grind some fresh pepper. And then we're just gonna put that on there as well. So just, you know, kind of simple, really. Just salt, pepper, and garlic. That's really a go-to super, you know, old faithful type seasoning. You can't really go wrong with salt, pepper, and garlic. It's gonna work every time. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead, and you can see these gorgeous spaghetti squash and all seasoned up and looking yummy. So we are going to go ahead and roast these in the oven at 425. So I'm gonna throw them in there real quick. All right, and then while those are roasting, and we are roasting those face up, like so. So if you're questioning face down or face up, we do them open-faced. We have talked about possibly experimenting and going with the grill option, but we didn't want to experiment tonight with you guys. We wanted to go with what we knew worked for sure. So now we're going to move on to the onions and the chorizo, and that's just going to be all mixed together in the cast iron skillet that we got over here, and we're going to cook that up here in just a minute. So all right, guys, so I've got the olive oil going, and I got a little bit of the garlic infused olive oil. I bought this at Aldi. We have almost used the entire jar already, so we're on empty. But I did put a little bit in each of these pans. This one's going to be for the onions and the chicken chorizo, and then we're going to do the pork chorizo and this one over here as well. So this one's hot and already ready to go. This one's still warming up. So I'm going to go ahead and get the onions in here so we can get those sauteed real quick. And then we'll go on time lapse again from there, okay? Okay, I'm going to show you what I'm doing with the chorizo. So the chicken chorizo that we got from Boarhead, it's already fully cooked. So we're just really going to be browning it in the skillet. It's already ready to go. So, but I am going to, as you can see, I've kind of diced it up in these small little bite-sized things so that they fit well into the acorn squash. They don't really kind of, since they're already cooked, they don't really like turn into the sausage type consistency or ground meat type consistency that this chorizo will. So I'm just going to kind of prep that by taking the skins off. So I'm just going to cut one end, and you can kind of see on each, like right here, there's a little nub where the end of that casing is on there. So I'm just going to kind of cut that off to kind of open up the casing, and then you can just kind of pull that casing skin off from there. So I'm going to just kind of show you how I do that. So I'm just going to pull this off. It doesn't take very long, and then once it's pulled off all the way, then I'm just going to cut it in half and then cut it in quarters, and then go down it and kind of dice it up. So you can see this is pretty easy to come off. It doesn't take a lot of time, but that way you're not fighting with it at the end in your skillet. So just going to cut it in a lengthwise like this. And again, if you're going with the traditional, this is not going to matter, because then that's going to be just like a sausage or a ground beef, and it's already going to kind of crumble on its own. But since these are fully cooked sausages, they do not have that crumble consistency. So I'm just gonna cut them in strips like that. And I'll do this one as well. So just 4 strips really. Just quarter it and then quarter it again. And then I'm gonna cut them so that they're just little diced sizes. So I'll put all those together and we're just gonna go down it in tiny little patterns and just cut down our sausage to make it nice little diced cubes. And that is how I'm gonna create the chicken sausage for the acorn squash. Alrighty guys, so the onions have gotten good and soft, so we're gonna go ahead and remove those from this pan here so we can cook our chorizo chicken sausage. And then I've got the, if you can see in this skillet over here, we've got the pork chorizo already starting to brown and sear on that side, and then we'll go ahead and cook it just like you would ground beef or ground pork for the rest of the dish. So I'm just gonna set these onions to the side. And then here is all my diced chorizo chicken. So we're gonna go ahead and throw that here in the skillet. Oh, love the sound of the sear for sure. All right, so, and like I said, this is already fully cooked chicken sausage. So all we're gonna have to do is just brown it and get it good and warmed up. And then our acorn squash are still roasting in the oven, so we'll just let those keep doing their thing. And while that's happening, we're gonna get these warmed up over here. And then I'm gonna go over here and kind of work on this sausage a little bit, getting it good and cooking. Kind of crumble it up. I like to do the chop thing. I don't know how you do your crumbles or thing, but I like to chop it a little bit, get it going. So we're just gonna let this keep browning, and then once these are cooked, then we'll be coming to the assembly portion where obviously it's not gonna be any rocket science here. We're just filling up the acorn squash, sprinkle them with a little bit of cheese, and then browning them in the oven until they're fully warm. So we will catch up with you guys in just a minute on that, okay? All right, everybody, so we have cooked the chorizo. We got everything ready to go. I've just pulled these beautiful acorn squash out of the oven from roasting. Let me just kind of lower it down here so you can see what they look like. They are beautiful. Okay, and you can kind of still hear them sizzling a little bit. So now we're going to put them together so that we're ready for dinner. So we're gonna do half of them with the chicken and then half of them with the pork chorizo, just so we have both options, and then we're gonna top them with the cojita cheese. So we're gonna start with the chicken right here. Got a spoon, so we're just gonna kind of put these right on into the little opening. Stuff those right on in there. This smells so good. Now, what I have noticed when I taste tested the pork, specifically, not so much the chicken, but the pork was very, very spicy. So just forewarning you, if you don't like spicy food, the chicken option is definitely better, or look for a chorizo that's mild versus spicy, or you are gonna get a kick in the butt. I can guarantee you that. All right, so these 3 are my chicken. And now we're gonna move on to the pork. Let me grab my other cast iron skillet here. All right. And this, you can see that the pork is definitely more crumbled for sure, just like your ground beef would be. This is the one that was super spicy. So if you don't like super spicy, then just kind of be aware of that. And I went ahead and split half of the onions into the pork and half of the onions that we softened into the chicken. So that's already in the mixture. So we're just gonna spoon that in real quick. And then after we get all this spooned in, then we're gonna sprinkle it with that yummy cojita cheese. So if you've never had it before, it's very crumbly, more crumbly than like feta even, or at least in the consistency that we bought it in at the grocery store. We just picked it up at Walmart today. In the it was in the dairy type section, in the dairy refrigerator section, and it was in the back buy all kind of even in a separate cooler than the other like regular cheeses and prepackaged cheeses. So if you're looking for it, you might have to go on a hunt a little bit, but it's definitely a refrigerated cheese, so that you're gonna know to at least look in the refrigerated section for that. All right, so then we've got our yummy Cojita cheese. Now you can see the way that we've got it, it's grated. So it's got that almost Parmesan grade consistency. And then we're just going to sprinkle it all on top of here. I mean, absolute deliciousness. And, you know, I'm not going to skip on the cheese. Cheese is awesome. So a fourth of a cup of this is 100 calories and 6 grams of protein. So, I mean, hey, this is going to load you up. And we're not even putting a fourth a cup on either of these. This is probably about 2 tablespoons of cheese per squash. So not adding a lot of extra calories, but getting a super big bang for your buck in the protein department for sure. So these are ready to go back into the oven to roast. I'm just gonna zoom in here for just a second and let y'all take a look at those beautiful acorn squash. I'm so excited. Wish you guys could try them. Hopefully you will give this recipe a try at home so that you can see if you like it too as much as we do. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these back in the oven to roast for about 5 minutes until that cheese gets melty and warmed through, and then they'll be ready to serve.